Welcome to Better Sex, where you get the information and inspiration to create and enjoy your best possible sex life. Join your host, sex therapist Jessa Zimmerman, as she brings you expert guests, helpful tips, knowledge, and strategies to improve your intimate relationships. And now, your host, Jessa Zimmerman.
Hey everybody, it's Jessa. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Sex Podcast. So glad you are here with me today. I have a pretty fun episode. This is a pretty cool thing that we're going to be talking about today because Sayra Player is joining me. She is the founder of Guided by Glow, which is a combination of guided meditation and sexual stories. And as you're going to hear, this is developed out of her own desire for something to, inspire creativity with masturbation, but also to just sort of really get in touch with her body and her sensations and her creativity. And she found this hole in the market, like this thing is missing. She wanted it, and so she was driven to create it. So she's sharing the story of how this has come to be and how it serves people. I hope you're going to have a lot of fun with it. And before we start the show today, it is sponsored by Intimacy with Ease. It's a method to help otherwise happy couples achieve a sex life that is easy and fun for both of them, so that you can actually just enjoy your sex life with zero stress. For more information, if you want to watch a brief little training video that's available, all of that, go to intimacywithease.com. Sayra, thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Oh, thank you, Jessa.
So let's start off by, I'd love to hear a little bit of the story behind this business and why you've started Guided by Glow and what the mission is.
Cool. I depend on meditation and movement and creativity to survive, basically, to maintain, my love of life on a steady basis. And I love to listen. And I love to surrender to commands. I love to go to a yoga studio and they're like going downward dog. I don't have to think about anything. I just have to think about putting my body in that position and being present. And then, I get out of there and I am reset, ready for anything. And that space for me is so magical and healing and needed. I was listening to a meditation and this gentleman had a nice voice. He just sounded like a nice person, and he was really calming my body. And I thought, sure would be interesting if he got sexy. And I thought, that is such a beautiful idea to bring someone in this mindful, present state and then bring in imaginative sexual play. So I'm like, somebody's definitely done this. Let me find them and, write them a fan letter and listen. And I didn't find anything that was at all like I was looking for. And so I'm a filmmaker and an actress. I live in New York City. I've done it, for a very long time. So I have this rich network of creatives, of real talent. And I thought, who of these beautiful friends of mine are comfortable enough to get super sexy? And, I'm Midwestern. So this whole genesis was like, should I? I'm not somebody who's super focused on outwardly talking about sex. I'm comfortable with friends, but, I bring it up and people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I'm an actress and a filmmaker and I created this app. It's guided sexual meditations and sensual stories. And the conversation ends and the person is silent, and I'm like, I get it. I'm also, it's like, oh, do we talk about this? So anyway, now I do talk about it. And and it's been, year and a half of figuring out how to navigate sexual shame personally and in the world, trying to spread this thing and let people know about it. So moving back again to the creation, I wrote one and I shared it with friends and they were like, that's super sexy. So the beginning was just, what is sexy? I have all these creative people. I'm like, you write one. And then it was sexy and it was, just fun and creative. And then we got I set up a date. I produce things often. This wasn't a big deal. I turned a closet into a studio, a big closet, put some awesome people in there and sat outside and listened to the recording. And we recorded for like 6 hours, I think. And I've never heard so much sexy material back to back. I was laid out on the floor. I couldn't move. The last person came out, I was just laying on the floor. He was like, I guess that was good. I'm like, yeah, you're good. All done. So now I can listen with a less affected mind and, have a technique for what is, our system. And I don't get laid out flat on the floor, mostly probably because people mail the sessions now because of COVID.
So are these actually sort of fantasies that are being narrated, or are these more meditations around connecting with your own body, like body scans or head to toe, like
the beginning of this was, I'm a method actress, and that is all about sensory. It is all about the instrument, the human body and our senses and how we receive and how we feel and how emotions flow through us and what sparks our imagination to the point where we lose ourselves in a story. So there are exercises, which are mindfulness exercises, which are dropping into the body. They are igniting the imagination through the senses. So I try to make all the sessions have that laced throughout. Some sessions they're all spoken directly to the listener. You're not listening about something happening to someone else. This is your imaginary experience happening to you. And it's either the guide taking you through a story. There's always a little bit of relaxation or sensory work that will relax you. They'll either take you through a story where you're, one's called the last day of vacation. You're at a cliffside resort, you go down in a meadow and there's, this and that happens. Or it is a guide who joins you wherever you are and leads you through it's more like a typical meditation, but then there's the imagination of the guide's hands on you or, the full experience. So there's kind of two ways it goes, but you could call either a meditation, and they're both about mindfulness because it's bringing your awareness to your senses and your imagination.
Are the guides all gender? Is this aimed, in these stories? Does it accommodate sort of any bodied person?
They are spoken to those that don't mind being referred to as having a vulva or a vagina. It's anybody could listen. I know men enjoy it. It is not a typical erotic experience. Most erotic inspiration is straight to it, and I have not experienced enough, of what you would think of as porn. I think it's too complicated for me to say what porn is versus this. Right. It's like, this is an audio, mindful, guided masturbation with, a lot of cues to inspire you and surprise you.
Right. For vulva owners, basically. Right. And then are the guides male and female?
They are. Yeah. So there's same sex and then hetero.
It's Jessa here, just taking a quick break. Thanks for listening. Are you interested in being a guest on the show? I'm always looking for people with expertise to share that could enrich other people's sex lives. And I'm also interested in hearing from people who have transformed their own intimate relationship and would want to share their story with my listeners. So if you've got something to contribute to the discussion and want to see about being featured on an upcoming episode, please visit our website, bettersexpodcast.com, and check out the Be a Guest details. You'll find everything you need there. So talk to me a little bit about how you see this working? I mean, in terms of mind-body connection, or why you think this is so powerful to connect to the imagination of the senses.
Well, as an actor, I know that when I'm given cues to get me into my body, into the real feeling that's happening inside my body, I have access to so much creativity. I know that masturbation for me is a very creative state. It's very imaginative. There's so many different things happening. It's like energetic and it's elemental. It's like somebody I saw on the street. It's my husband. It's just like this. And I haven't been able to find something that taps me into my body, I haven't found something that makes me feel like really healthy and thriving and inspired while masturbating to watch. I have tried to find things, and I have watched in porn. I'm like, I want to say some other
right, whatever else that you might call it.
Call it. Yeah. I have watched it, and it does turn you on, but I haven't found any that doesn't disturb me for whatever reason. I didn't find. I know there's some out there, and
right.
I keep saying I'm gonna go, because now I'm in this world where I'm creating something that I needed, that maybe others do, that I should know more. But it's kind of like scary movies for me. Like, I just don't watch scary movies because I've seen them and they really mess me up.
Right.
But like Wicker Man is a scary movie, but it's one of the best movies ever, So I want like the Wicker Man of porn. If I'm going to watch, I want to see that, that would be amazing.
Right. But what do you have to comb through to find the things that don't upset you?
Yeah. Everything can upset everybody, but this has the intention, every guide who's on it, intention is to create a meaningful, intimate experience with the listener.
Mm-hmm.
And these are actors who know what it means to come from a truthful place. That this really sacred intention of, this beautiful thing we human beings get to do. So yeah, it just feels like a different thing altogether.
Yeah. Well, and the way you're describing this about listening to it as if it's happening to you, porn is visual. Those are eyes, and it seems it must be so different to be hearing it, to have somebody sort of, I don't know, it's almost like whispering in your ear or something. That there must be something so much more immediate to that.
My wellness expert, she's a licensed psychotherapist and extraordinary, but she, I said, what else can I do to serve the community? And, what else could we do? And she said how powerful it is for people to write their own fantasies down, and how people don't think they can. And then they do, and they have this empowered moment of what they like and what they want. So I'm starting a writing. I say contest, but I don't even want to call it a contest, because I want people to do it just to like play.
Yeah.
So that's going to happen soon. I'm really excited, because personally, I have just grown so much in who I am sexually, what I want, just by creating this and finding all the parts where I hold shame and fear. And
are you going to produce any of those sort of listener submitted stories?
We'll see what comes. That's a part of it. If they want, if we get some we like, we'll say, would you like to, for us to produce these? And see, it's really just like all of it. It's like I plant the seed and see what happens.
Yeah. So how do you see the bridge between somebody? So this is somebody who's listening to this alone. How do you think this builds somebody's sex life with their partner? What are the ways that this bolsters that?
Well, where it's like, my husband's going to hear these things. Oh my God. He's not going to hear them. He can care less. Oh boy. But so I've been with my husband 20 years, almost 20 years. And I'm not going to sleep with anyone else. I don't think. And that's a long time. That's so much work to keep it fresh, That's a lot of work. It's like not a lot. I mean, work is never as hard as it seems. But these are like, everybody got so excited about Bridgerton because they finally got to watch something erotic, you know?
Right.
It's like, why don't you do a 10 to 20 minute meditation that's super erotic and then go sleep with your husband? It's going to be awesome. It's going to be like watching Bridgerton, You're going to come in with this like new system.
One of the things I talk about a lot in my therapy practice is how lots of people don't sort of spontaneously get turned on. They're not in the mood. They're not thinking about sex. Some people even tell me they have no sexual desire. And if they get some stimulation, all of a sudden they're responding, they're in the mood, there's this heat, right? And that stimulation can be mental. It doesn't even have to be touch. So I think these stories you're talking about, these recordings would do that.
I keep picturing somebody on the subway listening, going to see somebody.
Hopefully not too much of a grin on their face to give away what they're doing. Yeah.
I also, this isn't for partners, but I've also thought about, all those times when I was single and I was like, man, nobody's hitting on me. Like there's nothing, like I'm not attracted, like what's happening? And then as soon as I get a boyfriend and I start having sex and I'm like glowy, happy lady, they're like, hey, I'm like, oh. So a part of me is making this for my younger single self. So maybe she can get her glow on and then go out and attract some men.
Well, yeah. And, it's nice to get your glow on even alone, right? It's not all about getting a partner, but there is something to that, being in that energy. Yeah.
So wanted a partner. I was obsessed.
So is there anything you would say about mindfulness in general in terms of sex? This is all sort of in the maybe leading up or the solo play or the fueling the fire in general. But how do some of these ideas about creativity or imagination or presence show up in an actual sexual encounter with a partner?
Well, I think when you listen to the sessions, the cues they're just tuning you in more and more and more, and then giving you a little something to like expand inside and tuning you in and expanding. So like meditation, you do a 10-minute meditation of listening and tuning in and dropping into like what's actually happening inside of you and outside of you. And then you go interact with someone, you bring that energy, you bring that presence, you bring that sensuality because you make that space for it. You have more. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. Is there anything I've forgotten to ask you? Besides, I definitely want to ask you where people find it. How do they find these wonderful, these guided sessions?
Well, I made a discount code for your listeners for $20 off. They can use Better Sex, no space. And that's $20 off the $47.99. And you can find it on the website to use the code, guidedbyglow.com. Or you can go to the App Store and join there, but the code won't work.
Yeah, right. Okay, it's got to be on the website for the code, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for that,
if you're in, you can download the app for free and sign in. So.
Right. Okay. And are those released? Is it sort of like you can binge everything you've got, or are they released once a week or once a month, or how does the format work?
There's about 60 there for you now, July 12th, and there's a new one every week.
Ah, okay.
So at least one good session a week once you catch up in the listening. But there's a day's worth of listening. That's a lot, You're
gonna be lying on the floor outside of the closet again for anybody who's doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a lovely idea, and I can't wait to share this, not just with my listeners, but with my clients too. So thank you very much.
It's so meaningful. Thank you so much, Jessa. Thanks for taking this time.
Sure.
You've been listening to Better Sex. Please visit our website, bettersexpodcast.com, for show notes and additional episodes.
And that's a wrap for today. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you are enjoying the podcast, if some of this material resonates with you and you would like to make a difference and make sure that this keeps coming out in the world once a week, ongoing, there are a couple things you could do to show your appreciation. The first would be to go to iTunes and rate and review the show. That really helps us be found by new listeners when you review the show on iTunes. You can find a link at bettersexpodcast.com/iTunes. The other thing I want to invite you to consider is becoming a Patreon. For a small monthly pledge, you get some benefits. So for $2 a month, you get advance access to every single episode. For $5 a month, you get a chapter of my upcoming new book. And for $10 a month, I host quarterly get-to-know-you and question-and-answer chats over the web, and you get invited to that. I would love to have your membership in that, become part of the Better Sex family. You can find a link at bettersexpodcast.com/Patreon, which is Patreon. Again, thanks for listening. I'm glad you're here. Feel free to comment, ask questions, get in touch. I'd love to hear from listeners. Thanks.